What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Studs and Duds recap from NFL Week 3. Now, I've been saying this in all my videos this week. I'm going to do the same thing here. Likes right now on YouTube are king, and I hate asking for likes and taking time to do it, but I really can't say enough about how much it would help me out, how much it would mean to me if you just took a second right now to hit that like button. If you enjoy this series, if you learn things about football that you wouldn't normally hear from NFL Network or ESPN, just please take a second to do that right there. You know, we are getting about 5,000 views on these videos. If we could get 1,000 likes on this thing, that would be amazing. So please do take a second to do that. And that's all I'm going to plug here. So let's get into the recap from Week 3. If you're new here, what we do, we go through each game. We talk about the players, whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling. While we do that, I am going to be showing you my custom Madden roster update. So you're going to see that ratings change here. If you're here just for the football talk and you don't really care about Madden, that's totally fine. It's just a number that reflects how I feel about the guy. So if you're not here for the Madden roster update, that's perfectly fine, but just so you know, that's what those numbers are. So let's start off with the stars of the week. Daniel Jones of the New York Giants. Now, my pro comp coming out was Ryan Tannehill. Did he look Tannehill-esque in this game? I think that's somewhat fair. Giants fans don't want to hear it. You want to hear that he's got a higher ceiling than that. You know, Tannehill's had his moments in this league. Now, I'm not saying he's limited to that. I'm just saying that he looked good. He looked like a quarterback that can hold his own, be competent. I did not like the pick at number 6. Only time will tell if that holds up. But man, he was impressive this week. He's making good throws. You know, where I think I'm most impressed with Daniel Jones is those intermediate throws. Any quarterback, especially if you're drafted 6 overall, should be able to make a quick read, get rid of the ball in the short game. Deep ball was not entirely there for Daniel Jones, if you ask me. A couple attempts, none of them particularly good or accurate. But, you know, a lot of football left. It was against a questionable Bucs defense, but I will give Daniel Jones credit this week. It's a good week for him. I'm not trying to take a dump on him, but I think Giants fans right now are doing a lot of I told you so when there's a lot of time left to see how good this guy can actually be. If he's just Ryan Tannehill, that's not going to be a good pick there at number 6. Okay, let's keep moving. Kyle Allen. Oh my God, I've never even come close to a plus 10 on a player. On my roster, that kind of camp arm is in that 49 to 53 overall range, and Kyle Allen is a lot more than a camp arm. He proved that in Arizona. He had a lot of zip on the ball that I had no idea he had. The accuracy was incredible. I mean, you can't even compare him to Cam Newton for the first few weeks of the season. He was night and day better. So, I mean, Cam Newton's dealing with a lot of health issues right now. It was against a Cardinals defense that is not particularly good, but I mean, Kyle Allen showed that he can at least be a serviceable backup. So a plus 10 for Allen this week. It's going to be interesting, though, to see if he keeps playing like this. No way in hell do they go back to Cam Newton, who can't throw a football accurately, and his mechanics are absolutely shot. Shaq Barrett, plus 2 here. Kind of knew it at the time when they signed this guy that was just a no-brainer, like stud, under-the-radar signing. Had no idea he was going to lead the NFL in sacks through 3 weeks, but it's not just the sack numbers, it's how he's doing it. The pressures are high. He looks awesome. Just kind of leaves you scratching your head how some of these other guys like Preston Smith, Darius Smith, Trey Flowers, like obviously very good players, not trying to insult them, but you look at the money those guys got and the money that Shaquille Barrett on like a 1-year almost league minimum contract, it's really kind of head scratching how that fell through the cracks. So a great signing there for Tampa Bay. And then Jair Alexander, still unsure how you're supposed to say it, but my goodness, I mean, Field Yates put it best. He is straight up not just arguably the best cornerback in the NFL through the first 3 weeks, but is arguably the best defensive player in the NFL through the first 3 weeks. I mean, we knew he had a high upside coming off a really promising rookie season. He is an athletic freak, but he also brings that tenacity where he'll talk trash. He ripped the ball just straight up out of Noah Fant's arms this week. His coverage has been fantastic. I mean, Green Bay couldn't be any more thrilled with how this cornerback has played through the first 3 weeks of this season. And then the duds this week, Janoris Jenkins, a cornerback here for the Giants. Oh boy, he is not looking good. The opposite side of 30 years old is not treating him well. Janoris Jenkins has been targeted 21 times in the last 2 weeks, allowing 15 receptions for 260 yards and 3 touchdowns. It is pretty much looking like it's over here for Janoris Jenkins. New York's got a lot of young corners there that they have recently added. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a benching here for Jenkins before too long. And then we got Leonard Fournette, -3 again for the Jags this week against the Titans. I mean, let's not even talk about how they passed on both Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson to take this player. He can't catch the ball out of the backfield, which is what playing running back in 2019 is all about. But not only that, but like, you just hand him the ball. If he's not running at a straight line, like, he had a play in this game where he tried to bounce it outside and he literally tripped and fell over himself. Now, he had a nice run at the end of this game that went for about 60 yards, but even in that run, you could see that he doesn't have the speed that he had coming out of LSU. You know, he's a guy that could clock into the 4.4s once he got going. He normally, you would think, a couple years ago would have taken that run to the house, but he ended up getting caught by Kevin Byard, who's like a 4.55 guy. So Leonard Fournette, like, you really can't say enough bad things about him at this point, and I'm just going to move on because I'm just done with Leonard Fournette. And then I started a kind of joke award last week, the Dave Gettleman Award for the defensive lineman that dominated the run that week, the cheap defensive lineman of the week that did so. Kind of laughing at the fact that Dave Gettleman traded Odell Beckham for a nose tackle and drafted him in the first round, and how you can find these guys who are very replaceable. Well, I don't want to really, take a dump on Dave Gettleman this week. Daniel Jones looked competent, and also Dexter Lawrence played pretty well this week and actually was getting after the quarterback a little bit. So we're going to put this award on hold just for this week and just say, Dave Gettleman, I'm not saying everything you've done is right, but maybe you knew a little bit about what you were doing. Still think it's deplorable to trade Odell for a nose tackle, but that's besides the point. All right, let's get into the games. Tennessee at Jacksonville, kind of your typical boring Thursday night game. We do get a more exciting one this week, Eagles-Packers, but it was Minshew mania. He's going to go up 3 again here. The narrative this year is going to quickly turn to what happens when Foles is healthy. Does Minshew keep playing this well? Foles, to me, is already a backup caliber player, a bottom 3 starter in the league type of guy. So what do they do? Do they try to, put Foles back in there because they're paying him all that money? Do they just roll with Minshew? Like, it's only time will tell, but Minshew played very well, was a big reason Jacksonville won this game, and frankly is a big reason I think they still haven't traded Jalen Ramsey. I think it's a selling point to Jalen that this team can compete, even if that might not necessarily be true. DJ Chark, I don't always apologize for being wrong about a player, but I was very harsh on DJ Chark. I just straight up didn't think he could play. I did have a 5th round grade on him, and as a rookie, that looked like an excellent evaluation. But out of nowhere, he's making contested catches, running good routes all over the field. He's the #1 target for this offense. I don't exactly know where this came from. It's not anywhere in his tape, whether it be college or as a rookie, but I will, tip my cap to DJ Chark, who looks really good, going up for the 3rd week in a row here. We talked about Leonard Fournette just now. Calais Campbell onto the defensive side of the ball. Campbell was kind of my split pick for Defensive Player of the Year 2 years ago. Naturally just regressed a little bit last year, but he, at least this week, played like that Defensive Player of the Year caliber player, so a +1 for Calais Campbell. And then Josh Allen. I caught a lot of flack because people thought I hated Josh Allen coming out of Kentucky in the draft. I still had him as a first-round top 10 type of talent. I obviously saw the upside. I didn't understand the Khalil Mack comparisons, the idea that he's some blue-chip prospect. I was not very surprised to see him fall out of the top 5 like a lot of people were. That said, it's not like I didn't like him, and now we're evaluating him here in Jacksonville. To me, he looks a little bigger. He's playing the run much better than I expected, especially as a rookie. I think part of that is the weight he seems to have put on. just like by the eye test. I don't know what the actual like weight measurement would tell you, but by the eye test, he just looks a lot bigger than he did at Kentucky. So Allen looks good. He's getting after the quarterback as well. Off to a good start. I did like the landing spot here. I by no means thought that he couldn't turn into a really talented, you know, even #1 edge player here. I just didn't entirely, you know, love him coming out of the draft. All right, and then Leon Jacobs going to go up +1 here, 68 to a 69. Super athletic linebacker out of Wisconsin, a second-year player. Rotating in here, they do have reps kind of for sale here with Telvin Smith basically stepping away for the season. Leon Jacobs capitalizing on that, showing some of that upside as a guy that was considered very raw coming out of school. Onto the Tennessee side of the ball, both these running backs going to go down. Dion Lewis has kind of lost that ability to make the first guy miss almost every single time. When Tennessee signed him from New England, that was what was so great about Dion Lewis is you get him in space or even just running between the tackles, he seemed to always make the first guy miss or break that tackle. He's not really doing that anymore. And I also don't like how Dion Lewis doesn't really catch the ball very well for a smaller back that you would kind of see as like a Theo Riddick, maybe Chris Thompson type of player. So stock down for Lewis, stock down for Derrick Henry. I mean, you guys know I'm out on Marcus Mariota. I made a video last week roasting him before that game. He made me look great for that call on that night game. Mariota's not going to go down here because I'm already low on him. Like, that was no surprise to me to see him play like absolute garbage and like a backup quarterback. But as far as Derrick Henry is concerned, like, he kind of made things interesting last year, was good down the stretch as they had a backup quarterback that kind of leaned on him in that heavy running game. But I just don't see the explosion. You don't see the power for a 250-pound running back. You would want this guy to be shrugging off the first tackle, stiff-arming dudes constantly, hitting the hole hard, like just be a power back. He plays like he's freaking Jerick McKinnon out there. You're not, dude. Try to run someone over. It just, I'm out on Derrick Henry. Onto the defensive side of the ball, Jayon Brown, +1, 74 to a 75. This guy really came on hard last year, and you know, this is a Tennessee team that spent a first-round pick on Rashaan Evans. Not that Evans can't play, but they did that because they needed a linebacker that can cover. You know, Woodyard's not getting any younger, and they were pleasantly surprised with how Jayon Brown played as that nickel linebacker last year, and he's continuing his success into this season. And then at corner, Malcolm Butler struggling a lot for this Titans team right now. A few bad weeks in a row, 77 to a 76. I did not like that signing when they made it because not only was he already showing signs of regression at the time, but that was a lengthy deal. He is almost 30 years old now, and I don't see him really turning his career back around at this point. So they're paying a low-end cornerback 2, in my opinion, to be a cornerback 1, which is not ideal. All right, next game, Miami at Dallas. Wide receiver for Miami, Preston Williams, has been a lone bright spot on this team. You know, Michael Dieter had a good first week, a team that desperately needs linemen, but he played left tackle this week. That was a big nope. I expect they put him back at guard. He got just roasted at tackle, which makes sense. He's not a great athlete. It's not a guy I would expect to be able to kick out to tackle. But anyway, back to Preston Williams. You know, we've covered him pretty heavily here. He made one of my prospect primer videos pre-draft. Super athletic guy. Physical comparison was Kenny Golladay for me. Didn't test the same, but just by the eye test. High upside receiver, had off-field issues. That's why he went undrafted. But amidst the garbage here, they do seem to have found a pretty talented wide receiver there to maybe help build around this offense. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Raekwon McMillan. This is what this year is going to be about for Miami, is seeing some of these investments on defense start to crystallize a little bit. Raekwon McMillan, Jerome Baker, Xavier Howard. You want that D-line to play better than it's playing, which, by the way, was not a fan of the Christian Wilkins pick when they made it because it wasn't a very high upside pick, and so far Christian Wilkins has done basically nothing. So anyway, Raekwon McMillan's played well, really good run defender, a little bit bigger, still kind of developing in coverage, but I like his game. And then on the Dallas side, pretty quiet. You know, we didn't raise anyone for New England last week for beating up on a college team. Pretty similar here for Dallas. I think Tony Pollard, I just have to move up. I mean, he had over 100 yards on limited touches. is just looking really explosive. He reminds me a lot of Austin Eckler for the Chargers. So +2 for Tony Pollard. He's getting hot. And then also Devin Smith. You just kind of moved the guy up. I mean, I literally had this guy written off for dead. He's had like season-ending injuries for like 4 years in a row. But here he is. He's healthy. He's playing in place of Michael Gallup. And good for you, Devin Smith. Good to see you back on the field. I liked him coming out of Ohio State. A long way to go before I consider him any kind of future for any team. But it is good to see him play. Next game, Detroit at Philadelphia. Kind of a sloppy game. You had like kick returns, fumbles, drops, but Detroit found a way to pull this one out. So on the Detroit side of the ball, I do want to mention TJ Hawkinson, who has completely disappeared after that Week 1 performance. I got a couple comments of people criticizing me for not raising TJ Hawkinson after a great Week 1. Well, he's really struggled the last 2 weeks. So glad I didn't raise him at the time. And then on the offensive line, the left guard, Joe Dahl, the second time this year he's gone up. He's playing well, especially as a pass blocker there. And then Frank Ragnow has been very notable as a run blocker. That was the move this year, was moving him from guard as a first-round pick back to center where he played at Arkansas, and he's looking pretty good. So +1 for Frank Ragnow. And then on the edge, Romeo Okwara, a good week. +1, 71 to a 72. He's that good Belichickian scheme fit here as that kind of oversized defensive end, very disciplined against the run. But what surprised me about Okwara is he's shown some power getting after the quarterback this year as well. We do have a faller here for the Lions in Damon Harrison. Now, obviously still a very good player. I expect him to continue to play as a dominant run-defending nose tackle. But you also got to understand how much higher he was as a nose tackle than the next man down. And he has been fine against the run. It's not like they're running right past him, but he hasn't been that dominant force through 3 weeks that you might expect for him. And then on the Philadelphia side of the ball, I'm going to toot my own horn here on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I had a 5th round grade on him. Didn't think he could separate. You know, just contested ball guys to me don't appeal to me as much. I prefer guys that can separate. It's nice to have a guy or two on your team that you can throw a jump ball to, but that's not something I'm investing a 2nd round pick in necessarily. And when you're J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and you're not even coming down with those contested balls, it's a problem. He has been borderline, just, you know, not even borderline. He's just been bad for the Eagles, and they've needed a guy to step up, and Arcega-Whiteside not ready to do that. So he's going to go down -1, 69 to a 68. On to the next game, Oakland at Minnesota. This game looked exactly like I thought. Minnesota just obliterated a terrible Oakland Raiders team on both sides of the ball. As for the Raiders, really the only positive thing to say is Darren Waller, for the 3rd week in a row, going to go up. Very big, pleasant surprise here. A guy that had a ton of just drug-related issues comes over here to Oakland, has his head right on his shoulders, and starting to show that high upside as a converted Georgia Tech receiver here at tight end. So +2, 71 to a 73. I do have a note here on LaMarcus Joyner, who was one of my duds of the week last year. I have been very critical of this Raiders team for many things, but one of them being paying LaMarcus Joyner as a top safety in the league and then just using him as a nickel corner when he's been good at free safety for the Rams for the last 2 years. That's head scratching right there. But not only that, but he's been bad at nickel corner. And not only that, but when you use a guy as a nickel corner, your impact on your team can be neutralized if the other team goes to 2 wide receiver sets. LaMarcus Joyner, making $10 million this year, played 23 snaps for this Raiders team this year. So just the LaMarcus Joyner thing has been a colossal disaster, kind of like I thought it would be. But, I mean, man, just not looking good. He's not going down again this week. He already went down 2 last week, but I just wanted to talk about that yet again. On the Vikings side here, Irv Smith looking awesome. They're not going to start him over Kyle Rudolph, who can't really play football. Can't block, can't run routes, but Irv Smith gets open, good hands, run after catch ability. Irv had a run after the catcher. It might have been called back for a block in the back or something, if my memory serves me well, but it was like 15 yards after the catch. I'm pretty sure that's more rack than Kyle Rudolph has in his career. So, I mean, Irv Smith is just the better tight end. There's no way around it. He's even a better blocker, and he's way lighter. Now, they just gave Kyle Rudolph a big extension. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. But they're not going to play him the snaps he deserves, unfortunately. But they should. He looks really good. A 2nd round pick out of Alabama. And then we got Brian O'Neill, +1, 68 to a 69. He's hot. I mean, played great last year as a rookie out of Pittsburgh, a late second round pick, third round pick, one of the two. Day 2 pick for sure, but a guy that was more of a developmental player, a guy that's like a converted tight end, like undersized, but he's gained weight and has been awesome here for the Vikes. He's been getting better week after week after week. I mean, physically, you look at him like Lane Johnson is a decent comparison physically, and I'm not even going to say his upside can't be that of one of the best right tackles in the NFL. So the Vikings seem to have a really good player there on that offensive line, which is something they desperately need. All right, next game, Denver at Green Bay. For Denver, Ronald Leary, veteran guard, not playing well, -1, 73 to a 72. Devontae Bosby played a lot of reps at corner here, +2, 61 to a 63. Also, that's, Isaac Yiadom. I don't know if he was hurt here. Broncos fans can let me know if that's what happened here, but by the looks of it, I think he just got benched. A third-round pick last year, just not filling into that big hole in outside corner here for Denver. But Devontae Bosby may be able to continue to play well there and take that number 2 corner job by the horns here. And then we got Bradley Chubb. Where you at, bro? Can't really find him. He had a bunch of sacks last year, which did not match his pressure production. Not that he was bad, but at PFF, it was kind of determined that he was a candidate for regression because, I think it was 20% of his pressures resulted in sacks. So far, that's kind of showing right now. This Broncos pass rush, or lack thereof, is one of the biggest surprises of the entire year. And then Justin Simmons, we lowered him after week 1, but he's playing great there at free safety the last 2 weeks, showing a little more range, looking pretty good. And then on the Packers side, we talked about Jair Alexander. We got Preston Smith, the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, had 3 sacks this week. He is up in the leads for pressures in the NFL this year. Great signing there. Him and Zadarius Smith just dominant on the edge. And then Tramon Williams has been playing slot corner for this team and looking pretty good. You see that a lot with a lot of veteran defensive backs kind of sit down there in the nickel and find some success. And Tramon Williams looking pretty good there. And then Josh Jackson not moving here, but I did want to note a second-round pick at corner. A lot of people thought maybe a move to safety in the works there. A guy that really struggled at corner, didn't really show those man-to-man coverage skills that you want out of that position, but just an uber playmaker, great ball skills, pretty similar actually to Micah Hyde, who this team had as a nickel corner, went to Buffalo and played great at free safety. So just a little note there on Josh Jackson, played 15 snaps at safety. Raven Green done for the year there for the Packers. They plug in, I can't even remember who it was, but he was terrible as the third safety, and just go to Josh Jackson later in that game, and he looked pretty good at safety. So not going to move, but definitely something to note is Josh Jackson at safety for the Packers. Okay, let's move on. We've got Jets at Patriots. Not a whole lot to say in this one. Brian Poole for the Jets, going to go up. A slight little laugh at LaMarcus Joyner. This was kind of the player I talked about when I made fun of the Raiders for playing LaMarcus Joyner in the nickel for $10 million. The Jets picked up Brian Poole for a league minimum contract, and he has significantly outplayed Joyner in the nickel. And then Henry Anderson, another kind of where you at, bro situation. Good year last year, but not showing it this year. -1, 79 to a 78 for the interior pass rusher. For the Patriots, Tom Brady's just been fantastic. The ball placement, level of competition isn't exactly there, but I mean, his receivers are kind of at the moment. And he's just slicing and dicing as Tom Brady does. He's playing at like the top of his game. So +1, 89 to a 90. And then Jamie Collins. Now again, he's had just 2 incredible performances against Miami and the New York Jets. Got to give him some credit though. He was one of the best linebackers in the NFL the last time he was here in New England, and he looks pretty close to his old self, which is terrifying for this defense. Okay, moving on. Baltimore at Kansas City. Ton of movement here, so let's try to get through it. Mark Ingram dominant in this game. He's looking like a top 5 running back right now. He was the only reason that the Chiefs were even close in this game. Left tackle Ronnie Stanley playing awesome this year. You know, I kind of forgot he was a top 6 draft pick. The fact the Ravens were even picking that high, it sounds kind of weird, but you know, he's a total stud at left tackle. He's probably a top 5 tackle at the moment. And then Nick Boyle, if this guy could run, I mean, he'd be Gronkian, but he just can't. He's not a very good athlete, but he's got solid hands, awesome in both run block and pass blocking. He fits everything they want to do here with running the football. So +1 for Nick Boyle, 78 to a 79. They gave him a nice contract extension this offseason. And then Bradley Bozeman, left guard out of Alabama, second-year player, playing well there at left guard all season. And then Miles Boykin just doesn't really look ready to me. A very raw freak athlete coming out of Notre Dame. He was a 4th-round pick for this team, so -1, 68 to a 67. Kansas City, left guard Andrew Wiley, +2. He was a guy that, you really needed to play well this year. That interior offensive line has some players, but a bit of a question heading into the year for the Chiefs, but he's been a rock, especially as a pass blocker, so +2, 68 to a 70. Halfback Darrell Williams, not Damian Williams, a guy that coming out of LSU you thought was just a plodding power back, but he can catch the ball, he can make you miss. That typical Andy Reid, versatile, big, running back, can kind of do it all. So +3, 64 to a 67. Left tackle Cam Irving just speaks to how good this team is at filling out depth. The good teams in this league understand that you need to have at least one depth piece that can play tackle and guard or wherever you need them, and Cam Irving got a nice contract to be that guy here for the Chiefs, if not a starter. But, the left tackle here, Eric Fisher, misses this game. Cam Irving steps in there, doesn't miss a beat, looks great at left tackle, so +2, 62 to a 64. Demarcus Robinson, he's hot, up for the 2nd week in a row. Contested catchability, getting open downfield. A pretty reliable target here for Patrick Mahomes. Can catch a back shoulder, can make a one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. I mean, this team is just loaded with playmakers. It's just not fair. And then Charvarius Ward, +1, 68 to a 69. Kind of a stiff, bigger corner, but he can play a little bit. He, I think, is thriving a little bit more. Not that he was bad last year, but really enjoying probably playing in more of a zone, press-heavy scheme. Been targeted 13 times in the last 2 weeks and only allowed 5 receptions. So definitely a position they need guys to step up, and Ward is doing so. +1, 68 to a 69. Damian Wilson, veteran linebacker, starting here, a surprise start. They got a lot of guys in that room. I did not expect Damian Wilson to be the guy that emerged, but he's been one of the better players on that defense for the last few weeks. So +1, 68 to a 69, could very well continue to go up. And then Emmanuel Ogbah had 8 pressures this week. Granted, some of those were on read options or just read keys and stuff, like kind of went unblocked, but he's been good this year. They traded Eric Murray for him, and they're getting a lot for that little trade. So a nice move there to get Ogbah. +1, 71 to a 72. All right, Atlanta at Indianapolis. Not a ton of movement in this game, but Isaiah Oliver, good for the 2nd week in a row. He went down week 1, but he's just been a lot better there for Atlanta in a defense that's not playing very well at all, but he's been a bright spot. Devondre Campbell, outside linebacker. He's going to go down 2 this week. Really just a good athlete that doesn't have a whole lot of playmaking instincts at all, or coverage understanding in any way. And then on the Colts side of the ball, Mo Alley Cox, a basketball player that's developed on a year-to-year basis here at tight end. Probably the deepest tight end group in the NFL right now in Indianapolis. +1, 71 to a 72. He's blocking a lot better than you would ever expect from a converted basketball player. And then on the interior defensive line, this is a player a lot of Colts fans were asking for, probably rightfully so, Danico Autry. Now, he's 6'5", 270 pounds, probably should be playing on the edge, but they're getting away with it with him on the inside right now. Not the best run defender, but that's fine if you can get after the passer, and that's what Danico Autry's doing right now. So +2, 74 to a 76. And then on the edge, Al-Qadim Mohammed, he went up earlier this year, +1, 68 to a 69. Good first, second down edge guy who can be a sound, disciplined run defender, stay in his lane, hold his ground, has a little bit of power to get after the quarterback, but just a nice little player there, bigger edge player. All right, Cincinnati at Buffalo. Not a whole lot of takeaways here, especially on the Cincinnati side of the ball, but Auden Tate, he's been playing. He's like a skinnier Kelvin Benjamin, like kind of similar to what we said about J.J. Arcega-Whiteside with Auden Tate just doesn't separate a whole lot, but he's been sound. He's, clearly worked at it here. He was a late round pick, like a 7th round pick, was a long shot to even make the team last year. Sticking around, I'll give him his credit, getting on the field. We'll see if it results in anything. In the nickel, Darius Phillips, he's been returning kicks here, but Darqueze Dennard on the pup. They've needed someone to step up in the nickel. Really, to nobody's surprise, it was not B.W. Webb, who they surprisingly gave a 3-year hefty contract. He's not a starting caliber player, so they need someone to step up there in the nickel, and Darius Phillips has been that guy right now. So +2, 64 to 66, limited reps, but I expect him to kind of take that job by storm here because he's just a lot more talented than anyone else they have. And then interior defensive lineman, Andrew Billings. He probably would have been my Dave Gettleman Award winner this week if we did it. He was a 4th round pick in 2016. Granted, he fell a little bit because of, I think it was injury concerns, but he has been just dominant. And I think he did get hurt. He's been hurt at some point in his career, but healthy now, playing great. He can get after the quarterback a little bit too. He's not just a run-stuffing nose tackle, but that's what he's best at. On the Bills side, Dawson Knox, a 4th round pick, I believe, out of Ole Miss, was completely underutilized there because they had a bunch of weapons. But man, he can play. He can run after the catch. He can block. Just a super good athlete, like a 4.5 40 kind of guy. George Kittle-esque is all I'm going to say. I don't know if he'll be George Kittle, but really reminds me of that, is that athletic, underutilized college tight end. Off to a good start there. Left guard, Quinton Spain, +1, 71 to a 72. Tennessee right now, probably missing Josh Klein and Quinton Spain, who they let go. Granted, I don't know if they had the money for it. Maybe you shouldn't have paid Malcolm Butler. But both Quinton Spain and Josh Klein for the Vikings have played well. Those were kind of a mainstay in Tennessee. They clearly, those guys' careers are not as washed up as Tennessee may have thought. Cornerback, Tre'Davious White, I just think he's one of the best, most underrated players in this league. He doesn't get targeted a lot, and he plays in Buffalo, so you don't hear his name a ton, but man, he can ball out. He's probably a top, definitely at worst top 10, but he's right in that conversation for a top 5 corner in the league right now. Benefiting as well from this defense just being really dominant this year. All right, Giants at Tampa Bay. Daniel Jones, we talked about him. Mike Remmers at right tackle. It just goes to show you that real life is not Madden. You can't just take players and move them around the offensive line and expect the same performance. The Vikings had moved Mike Remmers to guard last year. He was miserable, got just ran over by everyone he faced. The Giants pick him back up, put him back to his natural position at tackle, where he was a good player at one time in Carolina. And I'm not saying he's all pro or anything, but he's holding his ground there at right tackle better than anything New York has had for years. So you like to see that. Will Hernandez, the left guard, a 2nd round pick last year. Time for a boost. He's just been very steady since they took him. He was one of the better picks in last year's draft. So some boosts on that offensive line. And then Jabril Peppers, we did credit Gettleman a little bit earlier in the show, but I mean, this was the big piece in that Odell Beckham trade, was they got Jabril Peppers and then they took a nose tackle who, by the way, Dexter Lawrence did play well. Not going to go up this week, but we're going to keep an eye on that. But Peppers, they're playing him at free safety a little bit too much. I think it's like 10 snaps a game at free safety right now. The Browns prove that he can't do it. If you put him in the box as a borderline linebacker, nickel corner, that kind of bandit linebacker type, he can play. But he doesn't have the range, the coverage instincts to be a true safety. So they're kind of underutilizing him right now, but he's not playing particularly well. And then we did have Janoris Jenkins. On the Bucs side, we had Shaquille Barrett, who we talked about, but going down for the Bucs is Ndamukong Suh. To me, looks like he's just collecting paychecks at this point. Like, he hasn't been awful, but we had him at an 86. That's too high. He's not making much of an impact for this team whatsoever. Could see him continuing to go down if he doesn't show up and show some energy. And then also, Vernon Hargreaves just kind of looks like his old self. Doesn't look very good. The cornerback who went up earlier this year, so we'll see how he looks next week. Probably going to go down if he plays poorly again. All right, Carolina at Arizona. We had Kyle Allen earlier. Curtis Samuel going to go up one. I'm sure he's appreciative of the fact that he has a quarterback that can actually throw him the football on target, so he shows his talents given those benefits of an accurate quarterback. Just a note that Greg Little was rotating at left tackle. Darrell Williams has been falling there at left tackle fast. I think -4 in our first 2 weeks here. And Carolina's recognizing that, and they took Greg Little early in the second round here out of Ole Miss. They're trying him out at left tackle because they know they got to get that stabilized, and he looked pretty good. That said, Darrell Williams also played much better this week, so it could have just been the Cardinals effect, but those guys were going up against Chandler Jones a lot, so, you know, just something to monitor. Tight end Greg Olsen looking a lot more like his old self. Just a guy that has had a really hard time staying healthy over the last couple years. He looks a little more healthy now. +2, 78 to an 80. The left guard, Greg Van Roten. A lot of people thought Greg Little was going to take that left guard spot, but Greg Van Roten fought his ass off, earned that job, and he's playing great, especially in pass protection there. +1, 65 to a 66. On the edge, Brian Burns, time for a boost here. A guy that I considered very raw coming out, but never denied the upside. I'll give him some credit. He's playing great. Now he's running around oversized, slow veteran tackles. Let's see how he does against really capable, you know, true starting caliber tackles. But for now, Brian Burns looking good. First round pick out of Florida State. And then the cornerback Dante Jackson was lights out this week. 2 interceptions, both great plays on his end. You can just see the speed, but what surprised me was the instincts out of zone coverage. He's not just a man-to-man guy. He's got some playmaking instincts in there as well, and some zone understanding. And then on the Arizona side, DJ Swearinger down for the second week in a row. Just not looking like a very rangy safety at the moment. Can still come up and punch you in the mouth, but you know, it looks like Washington was kind of in the right in letting him go. He's really struggling in coverage right now. And then this one hurts me. Zach Allen, -2, 73 to a 71. I loved him coming out. I thought he was one of the most polished pass rushers in this class, coming out of Boston College, an oversized kind of, I thought a 4-3 defensive end. This is a 3-4 team here in Arizona. So I think he is playing out of scheme. He's never a guy that I wanted going up against guards. Like, you know, he's just a little undersized for that. I liked him on the edge, but, you know, he's just not playing well here in Arizona at all. 3rd round pick. So -2, 73 to a 71. Not going to give up on him, but you just got to move him down. Pittsburgh at San Francisco. More notes than anything from this game. The only riser for the Steelers is Cameron Sutton, who's going to go up +1, 63 to a 64 as the nickel corner. Just a lot of notes, like I said, you know, that nickel corner spot specifically was interesting. Mike Hilton is normally regarded as one of the best nickel corners in the league, yet he's rotating with Cameron Sutton. That's just interesting to me. You know, Hilton hasn't particularly played poorly when he's been out there. I just found that kind of strange. Deontay Johnson had a good week here. I'm already high on him, so let's see him repeat that before he gets a boost. The 3rd round pick out of Toledo. Mason Rudolph was just bad in this game. And then Minkah Fitzpatrick looking good, playing a lot more as a traditional safety here in Pittsburgh, so possibly due for a boost next week. We'll see how he looks. On the San Francisco side of the ball, I can't believe I'm saying this, but a fullback for the 3rd week in a row. So Kyle Juszczyk. You know, George Kittle is amazing, and he's the best player on that entire offense, but they run that offense through what they do with Kyle Juszczyk. He moves all over the place. They even use him as an outside receiver, a slot wide receiver, a running back, fullback, tight end. Just a dominant football player, really athletic fullback. You don't hear me talk about fullbacks too often. He actually blocks really well too. He catches the ball. Like, he's got my attention, which is more than any fullback in this league can really say. And then Justin School at left tackle kind of held his own, was unnoticeable, which is pretty good. That's pretty good for a 5th round pick or a 6th round pick starting at left tackle. Joe Staley's going to miss some time here, so good to see Justin School kind of hold his own there at left tackle. New Orleans at Seattle. Big upset here for New Orleans. Marcus Williams, that rangy free safety. He was one of the most rangy safeties in the league as a rookie. Had a bit of a falling out in his second year. Wasn't terrible, just didn't look the same. He's back to that level here, so a +1 for Marcus Williams. Cornerback Eli Apple, this was a big trade for them last year. Just, I think, time for a boost. He's been just pretty steady there at corner. He hasn't been like lights out or anything, just 73 to a 74 here, but good to have that added depth there for Seattle, a starter for them. A note here, where's Patrick Robinson? He's still recovering from injury last year. Was a big signing for this team to play nickel corner for them. He got 1 snap this week, I guess. So when does he play? Right now it's been PJ Williams in the nickel, who hasn't been particularly great. So we're keeping an eye on Patrick Robinson. If he doesn't get on the field and playing well pretty soon, could be due for a drop, especially if he is quote-unquote healthy. And then the last guy here, everyone just smile. There's a guy in the NFL who is a letter away from being named Shy Turtle. But Shy Tuttle, he's getting about 15 to 20 snaps a game, and he's making the most of them, so he looks pretty good. +165 to a 66, even if it was against a pretty bad Seattle offensive line. And then for Seattle, again, more notes than anything here, but on the edge, we've got some risers. Ziggy Ansah, I will apologize. I had heard that he was a healthy scratch week 1. He's still trying to come back from injury, so I'll give him some of that back. Now, he played this week, didn't look amazing. He looked fine. We'll keep monitoring him. I'm going to give him some of those points back that I took away in week 1, +2, 71 to a 73. And then Quentin Jefferson's been great. He's been one of their best defensive linemen this year. Very similar player to everything we said about Al-Qadim Muhammad in this exact same scheme here in Seattle. So +1, 69 to a 70. Just some notes, though. George Fant played a lot at left tackle. I think Dwayne Brown dealing with some injuries, and he played well. I've always been a little confused why they haven't tried Fant at right tackle instead of Jermaine Ifedi, who is awful. Fant really athletic. They've used him at tight end at times, so just keep an eye on that. I think he could start at right tackle for Seattle, but they apparently don't. Jadeveon Clowney's been quiet. Not going to lower him yet, but he's on my radar for that. Trey Flowers, the corner, was bad again this week. I'm already very low on him, so not necessary to lower him again. But that number 2 corner spot in Seattle is a big red flag for me right now. But Shaquille Griffin has played well as the number 1 corner there for Seattle, so he may be due for a boost next week. All right, Houston at the Chargers. Was kind of hard to find takeaways in this game. This game kind of looked how I expected it to look, but I did tweet out that Kenny Stills for the Texans has been a very pleasant surprise from what I thought was a miserable trade there for Laramie Tunsil. They gave up way too much to get Tunsil, but at least they got Kenny Stills, who's actually playing surprisingly well. They're even using him as a slot wide receiver. I considered him as just a deep threat coming over from Miami, another Will Fuller, if you will, but he's been doing a lot more and looking really good. Just a note that Titus Howard, their first-round pick, started at guard, wasn't very good there. Now he's playing right tackle, was a little better. Just something to keep an eye on. Max Sharping started at left guard. They're trying to figure out what the hell is going on with that offensive line. And then for the defense, Charles Omenihu, a 5th-round pick out of Texas, really good athlete. Didn't play week 1, but week 2 had a good pressure rate on limited snaps, and again repeated that here against the Chargers. Granted, against a really poor interior offensive line, but got to give him some credit where credit's due. Charles Omenihu +2, 65 to a 67, and nothing in the woodworks for the Chargers this week. All right, 2 games left. Rams at the Browns. Let's just get into it here. Rams, Cooper Kupp +1, 78 to a 79. He's been awesome coming off the injury. They definitely are happy to have him back. Their offense was not quite as good when he got hurt last year. A big piece of what they want to do with their 3 wide receiver sets and stuff. Left tackle, Andrew Whitworth, -192 to a 91. We said we were going to keep an eye on him. Granted, it was against Myles Garrett, so not going to knock him down too much, but not particularly good this week. Gave up a ton of pressures there to Myles Garrett. I mean, the guy's almost 38 years old. You can't expect a left tackle to be like Tom Brady and play forever. At some point, he's going to stop being an elite left tackle. Keep in mind, he's going down here, but it's just 92 to a 91. Like, he's still one of the best left tackles in the NFL. So, just something to continue to monitor. And then Clay Matthews getting better than he was his last couple years in Green Bay. A couple sacks in this game, +1, 73 to a 74. As for Cleveland, it's time. Baker Mayfield, we've admitted that we were wrong on you, and now you're making me look foolish for going in on you this year. Like, he's just forcing too many balls. He's bailing from pockets too fast. His accuracy's not as good. Like, he's got to get his head out of his ass. I think for the first time in a while, really since the draft, I think we can have a legitimate conversation on if Sam Darnold is going to end up being the better quarterback out of that class. It seemed for a while that was almost impossible, but it's just a reminder that you can't overreact to 1 year, especially for rookie quarterbacks. Now, Darnold's got to come out and actually play well. I thought he looked pretty good week 1. Just going to be fun to see this thing all play out. So Baker -1, 81 to an 80. On the edge, Myles Garrett +1, 89 to a 90. The dude's a stud. I'm pretty sure we put him on our breakout players list. If not this year, it was last year. But, I mean, you can't really say anything that you don't already know about Myles Garrett. So 89 to a 90. The guy's got 5 sacks, ton of pressures this year. Joe Schobert +2, 69 to a 71. I tend to shy away from the kind of stiff, oversized linebackers. But Joe Schobert, I will say, does have pretty good instincts. Just kind of that length as well. He's got really long arms to use in coverage, good tackler, smart player. Not the worst athlete on the field. So, good week, a good couple of weeks really for Joe Schobert, +2, 69 to a 71. And then Justin Burris, they picked this guy up off the street. He's starting at safety in place of Demarius Randall and looked pretty good. +3, 60 to a 63. One last note on the Browns, Eric Murray, who we mentioned earlier, who got traded here for Emmanuel Ogbah, actually starting at nickel corner. They had success with one Minnesota corner there in Breen Bodie-Calhoun. Now it's another in Eric Murray. Not going to go up this week, but is playing okay there in the nickel. Keep an eye on him. All right, last game here for the Bears at the Redskins. We've got a lot of fallers here for this Bears offense that has been real bad. Looked a little better this week, I'll give them that. But a lot of it comes back to Trubisky, but I think you also got to take away from some of these other guys not playing too well. Tariq Cohen has just not been that impact for this offense. It was a lot of gimmicks last year, a lot of screens, a lot of getting him open in space. Teams seem to have caught on, and Tariq Cohen himself just not making as many guys miss, not been that elite receiving threat out of the backfield. So -1, 80 to a 79 for the second week in a row going down there. And then also Anthony Miller for the second week in a row, 72 to a 71. He was my #1 wide receiver last year, and I think this is mostly just Trubisky not being able to make the most out of his wide receivers. You can say the same thing about Allen Robinson, but at some point, Anthony Miller, you got to get open, you got to catch the football, you got to collect targets, and he just hasn't been able to do that. And then right guard Kyle Long, for a while it's been when this guy's healthy, he's still one of the best guards in the NFL. Well, he's healthy now and he's not. He's not looked good there at right guard. He's going to go down 1, 79 to a 78. On the defensive side of the ball, Clinton Dix going up for the second time this year. Looking back on my Bears deep dive, I said I wouldn't be surprised if Clinton Dix, with all this talent around him, it was a good signing if he had the best year of his career. I think he's off to a good start for that little take there. Now, both of these weeks he's gone up were against the teams that, the revenge teams, the Packers and the Redskins, and he's played great against those former teams. So +1 for Clinton Dix could continue to rise. And then on the Redskins side of the ball, for the third week in a row, Terry McLaurin, he's been a storyline for sure this week. He just looks like a really good football player. Reminds me a lot of Keenan Allen, good route runner. His hands are good, not great. And Keenan Allen, you can still say that. He's got good, not great hands, but excellent route runner. Proving a lot of people wrong, a third-round pick. Excited to see him play at some point here with his college quarterback in Dwayne Haskins. And then on the interior defensive line, Matt Ioannidis. Okay, dude, I get it. I lowered you last week. You come out, you get 8 pressures this week. You look like a total stud. I'm sorry. I like you, Matt. Good for you. Keep getting that money. But, yeah, he's going to go back up after we lowered him last week. All right, we're sitting here around 50 minutes. That's the show. Again, guys, if you made it this far and you haven't hit that like button, what the hell is wrong with you? Hit that like button. Cheers, guys. We'll see you for the next one. Peace.